I'm going to talk about making Tanuki bonsai. Many people have heard the term Tanuki. Tanuki is spelled Tanuki, and it's a Japanese word, and in fact Tanuki refers to a Japanese animal. In Japan they call it a raccoon dog. I think the nearest equivalent that we find in Western Europe is the urban fox. They're a small animal, smaller than a dog, and they are very crafty creatures, and they live in the urban parts of Japan. In the Tokyo, among the railway lines, you'll find a lot of them. And if you go to Japan, you will find in front of restaurants and all sorts of places this little figure here. This is what is called the Tanuki, and it's a really nice jolly fellow, and there's a lot of fables and tales about the Tanuki. It's always shown wearing a hat. He's got a flask of sake in his right hand, and he's got a bag or a pouch which has money in it. And not only that, he's shown, you notice this animal, it's got enormous male genitalia. So that is your Tanuki animal. Now, why is this Tanuki such a lovable animal, a lovable rogue, as it were? Now, the Japanese love the Tanuki because it's a very crafty creature. Crafty meaning it's always trying to do tricks and fool people. And that is why the Tanuki bonsai is meant to be something that fools people. And now I will explain to you why. I will show you some Tanuki bonsai. A lot of people love the evergreen trees which have a lot of driftwood. And driftwood is this dead wood which is part of the tree, and there is usually a live vein. Now this is not a Tanuki, but whenever people see evergreen trees with a lot of driftwood, they immediately suspect that it is a fake. If we look at this beautiful juniper, if we come around this side, look at all that beautiful driftwood, and the live vein is only here. So as I say, whenever people see any bonsai that has driftwood, their immediate reaction is it a true piece of driftwood or is it a fake that has been put on top of the tree? And let's look at some of these examples. Look at that beautiful driftwood here. Now that is not fake, that is clearly not fake. But sometimes you can see trees that have a lot of driftwood, and your natural reaction is to ask yourself, is it genuine or not? Let's look at some more examples. You will have seen that video I did some weeks ago where we showed how this juniper was refined and tidied up. There is so much driftwood, and these are the live bits, and I thought that it could be a Tanuki. It's very hard to tell. This one is so skillfully done that I can't really tell if it is genuine tree or not. But I will give it the benefit of the doubt that this is a genuine juniper without being a Tanuki. Now this is another juniper. Junipers are the favorite subjects for driftwood. But a lot of these junipers have so much driftwood that it's hard to tell whether it is real or not. Now this one, this is carved. I don't think this is a fake. This is genuinely carved from this part of the tree. So this is not a fake. All right, let's look at another one. We have so many. Look at this one. Look at that beautiful driftwood on this tree. Let me turn it around. See, the pollen is coming off this tree because it's in flower. But you look at this beautiful, beautiful driftwood. Now, anyone would think that this is a fake, but I don't think it is a fake. I definitely don't think it is fake. This is just old age. This tree, I would say, is easily 80 to 100 years old. So that, I would say, is not a fake. So we can look at some of these other junipers here. We have scores of junipers. If we look at all these junipers here, if we can home in on them, they are actually twisted when they were young. Look at those. None of those are fakes. Those are all genuine. Now let's look at another one. This is a yew, English yew. Now this is just carving, so this is not a wraparound. If you look at that juniper, those are genuine bits of driftwood. So there is nothing fake about that. But I will now show you, if we walk, come here, we will show you a very good example of a tanuki. I've already shown this to you before. This is a Japanese larch which someone has made. It's wrapped around a beautiful bit of driftwood. See, this driftwood has already rotted. See, it never long lived. But they wrapped a young larch around it and created this very beautiful tanuki. So this is an example of a wraparound. This is clearly a wraparound because larches seldom grow like this. Very seldom that you find larches growing in the wild that have this contorted shape. So this is a wraparound or a tanuki. I will show you another tanuki using the dwarf juniper. If we home in on this tree, you look at all that dead wood there. There's a lot of dead wood. If you go up and down the trunk, you will see it is just a lump of wood. And that is a piece of boxwood. The box trees, which are very slow growing, and two trees have been wrapped around it. If we go around the back, we will have a better look at it. If we look at the tree, there is one tree which has gone up the trunk there. And then there's another stem here from the bottom, this left-hand side. It's gone up the trunk there. But tell a lie, there's a third tree. There's another tree here on the far left. That's another little tree. So they wrapped three trees to make the pads. So that's been very skillfully done. That was done by someone I knew, and I bought the tree off him. So that's not my creation. Usually when I create anything, it sells so quickly that I don't have it. But now, having explained to you the theory, I'm going to show you how it is actually done. Now this is a massive old Japanese yew, and when I bought this about in 2005, 15 years ago, it was already old. Look at it, it's genuinely old. There's nothing wraparound about that tree. It is all genuine, absolutely genuine. It's completely meshed around the trunk of the tree, and it's every bit authentic. Okay, so much for this one. And this is an old rigida Japanese needle juniper, and this is authentic, absolutely genuine. No fake about this. Now let's show you how these things are actually made. I brought with me several bits of driftwood. This beautiful piece of wood, it's beautiful, but it's not long-lived. Look at it, it's already falling apart. It is one of these contorted Japanese willows that I had growing in the field, and it's such a soft wood, I don't think it will ever be useful, but it's a beautiful piece of wood. So when you're looking to do a tanuki, you've got to find not just beautiful bits of wood, but wood that is long lasting. So this wood, can you see, typical willow, it's almost like pulp. This is not going to do anything. Even if you put wood hardener, it won't serve anything. So although it's a beautiful bit of wood, I'll keep it for flower arranging, but it's not going to be useful for making tanuki. Even this wood is still the same bit of the willow, but I won't use that. Now this is a genuine piece of juniper. This is a juniper rigida that we imported from Japan maybe about 30 years ago, but over a period of time it died, and this is the wood. It's absolutely hard as rock. Now to make nice tanuki or fake driftwood, you need wood which is hard, and you need wood which is characterful. It should have a lot of character. Now that's a beautiful piece of wood. And what we need to find is the live material which can be bent round the trunk. I'm just going to show you the principle because I'm going to apply many trees to this wood just to show you how it is done. So if we take this bit of driftwood, and of course if you have a beautiful piece of driftwood, you don't want to be hiding it. So this is a nice size. So this is a better side than this side. So I'll try and keep this side, and I will make the tanuki around this. So the principle is very simple. What we're trying to do is to make this tree wrap around the dead wood. Sometimes we call it a phoenix graft, sometimes we call it just a wrap around, and the Japanese term is the tanuki. So the yew which I'm using here, this is probably a 6-year-old yew, and it's about 60 or 70 centimeter long, and it's still very flexible. I haven't cut it back, so I'm wrapping it around the trunk like this, and over a period of time this should grow into a wraparound. These trunks will thicken and it will wrap around the tree. Now let me see how we tie it up. You can either use cable ties like this. These are these cable ties. See, that's wrapped it around already. Hard to work and talk at the same time. If you don't have cable ties, you can just put bits of bonsai wire, tie it round, and that'll do the job. But cable ties make life so much easier. Cable tie is not long enough. I'm trying to show it to the camera. Oh God. So you've got to spiral the tree right round. And as the tree grows, you can continue the spiral. Of course, it's already gone to the top. So you can see how I've just tied it with the cable ties, and the spiral has gone all the way around. And then as the tree grows, you can wire the branches out. Let me just prop it up to show you. So this is how the tree will grow. Although this is only a demonstration, because after doing it I'm going to take it apart again, because I'm going to use the same wood to show you how to do other species as well. This is a yew. Yew is quite good for tanuki, any evergreen, even pine is fine. I'm not going to do the whole thing because this is not the object to show you a finished tree. It's only to show you the principle. So you can see how I'm wiring the branches. So you can wire the branches like this and you will get the tree in next to no time. So it will have wrapped around this bit of dead wood. So this is the principle of doing it. Now, after having spent all that time to do it, I'm going to take it apart, because I'm going to show you the same piece of driftwood using a pine. Okay, we will undo this. Good juniper wood is hard to find. That's why I'm trying to save this piece. Okay, so let's dispense with this. Now, this is a Japanese black pine that I've been growing for years and years. It's also possible to use Japanese black pine because it's quite flexible. So what I would do with this one is exactly the same thing. See, when they're tall and lanky, you can easily wrap it around the trunk like this. And as the tree thickens, can you see what I'm doing? That's a branch there. And this is the main trunk. So we're going to wrap it around like this. Again, we would use this cable ties to do this. So that's how you would approach this one. Remember, I'm still just showing you the principles how these things are done. Now let me go and find a piece of juniper. So on a nursery such as ours, where we've been importing trees from Japan since 1987, we've had lots of trees over the years. And when you import plants, some you win, some you lose. These are all 150 to 200-year-old juniper rigida. This is certainly not a wraparound. I certainly do not think it is a wraparound. It is well meshed in the trunk, and knowing the juniper rigida, they have naturally occurring driftwood. So the trees do die and you will get the beautiful driftwood, but juniper wood is very, very hard. So that's a possibility that we can use. We may not need to use the whole height. This is a Chinese juniper that we imported. Again, look at the beautiful wood. It was overwired, I think, and whoever overwired this tree must have done too much. And sometimes when you do too much, you can kill the tree. So this poor tree has died. And this is another of these Itoigawa junipers which has died. It can be used for driftwood. You can see beautiful trunks. you don't need all of it. And one of the reasons why some of these trees die is because when trees come from Japan, not only do they have to be quarantined, but they are stressed in many ways. First of all, before they are sent to foreign countries, in Japan, they have to fumigate. And when they fumigate the trees, they use cyanide gas and all sorts of poisonous gases to kill the bugs and any live organisms that are in the plants and in the soil, so that when they come to the foreign countries or come to Britain and the USA or whatever, the tree has to be without disease. And for that reason, they are fumigated. But in the process of fumigating, not only do the bugs die, but the trees themselves die. So it defeats the purpose. But then those are the government regulations. So you win some, as we say, and you lose some. Some of these are our own trees. This is I think juniper squamata and a bit of driftwood. This is not a wraparound, but this piece can be stripped of the bark and you can use this for a wraparound. So you got to remove the bark, clean the bark up, shine it up as driftwood, and then wrap the tree around. So this is the source material that you've got to use. Now let's brush this up and see what I can get out of it. Ideally, if you use a bit of wood like this, you will have to take the bark off if you're wanting to get lovely white driftwood. That's a dead tree, but still very beautiful. So with a small tree like this, just to show you the principles, one of the very favorite subjects to use is the Chinese juniper. And in this country, we use the Blaw's juniper. These are cuttings that we buy. And these cuttings, as you can see how well grown they are, beautiful strong trees. And this is the ideal thing to use for a wraparound. If you continue to grow it bigger, grow it to about 60 centimeters or so, they will make nice long shoots, and you can use this to wrap around the tree. So you have a tree like this. You can just see what we do here. There's a lot of foliage. And if you wrap it around, this tree will look as if it is every bit alive. Ideally, we don't want this root ball with soil. Don't forget, I'm only showing you the principle. When you come to doing it yourself, you got to find a way of doing it properly. Right, it's another day, and I'm carrying on doing this wraparound or tanuki project. You must be wondering why I'm wearing a rubber glove. I don't normally use gloves, but in the rush to work too fast last evening, I nearly sliced off my forefinger with these very sharp secateurs. So be warned, they are dangerous. So let me continue. These things don't upset me. So this bit of dead juniper that I've got, I'm just going to use this one. And because it's still got the old soil on it, let's get all the soil off. I like to show everything. I don't do sleight of hand and magic and then hide some of the processes. I like to show it warts and all. I would have shown you how I cut my finger because the blood was pouring out, but was a bit too ghastly to show, so I decided not to. Okay, I've got all that soil off and the trunk is there. Now this is one of the Blaw's junipers I was telling you about. Blaw's juniper is the nearest thing you can get to Chinese juniper. Look at it, it's classic Blaw's. And this is single trunk tree. Many of these are multi-trunk trees and it's got beautiful roots. So I'm going to see what can be done. So I will take it round and wrap it round the trunk. Do it very carefully. Everything has to be done carefully. And as I proceed, you look at it closely, it's blending with the trunk. I'm going to tie it with the cable ties for now. So let us do it slowly. Before cable ties were invented or came into use, I used to use the old-fashioned nail method. So let me show you the cable tie first, because this is really convenient to use and it can stay there for a long time. Okay, that's how I tie it. Now let's get my fingers out of the way. I cut this off. So that's tied in. The other method which I use, look at all these lovely brass nails that I have here. You must be wondering why I use these brass nails. I bought these because I used to use brass nails. And with brass nails, you can actually, I don't use iron nails because they rust. If you use a brass nail, they will never rust, and with a fine hammer, you can hammer it in, and there you are, you secure that trunk like that. Okay, so that is how you can do it without having to use the cable ties. And then I will continue wrapping the trunk round. Let me take my time and not rush. This is where you need these junipers that have long, flexible shoots. If you have very stiff branches, you will not be able to wrap it around the trunk. And as the tree grows bigger, you can wrap more and more around the trunk. So let me just select, there's several branches I can use. Okay, I can use the next one, and I'll use another cable tie. As I said, now that cable ties have become so widely available, I prefer to use the cable ties. Okay, that can be the new shoot going upwards there. I tied moderately tight. Very fiddly, but I'm not having a race against time. I got to watch these cable ties because if it becomes too tight, it won't let the stems thicken and grow. So as they grow, I probably take it off and replace it with another one. But meanwhile, we just make it attach itself to the trunk. And you see how it's being attached to the trunk. I've only used 2 ties because this is not a very big Blaw's juniper. But as it grows, I will take it round and round and let it grow up the trunk. This is meant to be a small tanuki really, and it doesn't take a lot of imagination. You can wire these out and it will already begin to look like a bonsai. Let me just do a tiny bit of wiring just to show you the principle, because you won't believe what can be achieved. So with tiny scraps of wire I will tie it. Of course, you don't always have to use cable ties. You can use ordinary bonsai wire as well to tie it. But as long as you remember to take it off to prevent it swelling too much. Wiring at this stage is not that important, because the main object at this stage is to get the tree growing strongly and attaching itself to the dead wood trunk. I'm just wiring it to show you what the end result will be like. And again, I will show the progression of this tree over the next year or so, just to show you how it's growing. I'm trying not to rush the work, because yesterday I was rushing around, and rushing around I cut my finger. So all those roots from the live tree. Now let me just put it in a temporary bonsai pot of some kind. Just tie the tree in for good measure. I just mentioned in passing that if you grow the blows junipers well and don't train it when they're too young, you can get them to produce very, very long leading shoots, sometimes as long as 1 meter. And with a beautiful long shoot like that, it gives you the scope to make beautiful wraparound, because you can go round and round the trunk and get beautiful continuous spiral curves. You don't have to make a spiral, because I showed you on some of the earlier videos how you can just use a straight groove in the trunk and just put the live wood in the groove. Most of our young plants are grown in this very open peat bark mixture, and they tend to grow very fast and very well. So you saw how vigorous the roots were on this young juniper, these young blows junipers. I don't sell them young because I grow them big to make our own Chinese junipers from it. But it's a beautiful subject for making Chinese juniper. We just tighten the branch a bit and have a close look. Now I'm not going to trim the ends of these shoots because I want them to grow really long and strong. So I'm not even cutting the ends of the wires, because I'm just going to make this like a open coil and let the shoot grow in the direction I want it to grow. So you can see what I've done here. The object is not to show the finished tree, but to show the principle. So can you see the trunk has gone round the trunk, wrapped on this bit of dead wood. So the original tree is no thicker than a pencil. In fact, it's thinner than a biro or pencil. But the trunk of the dead piece of juniper is so thick, it makes it look really old. And I would guess that in a year's time, this will become a very credible tree, like some of the thick trunk itoigawas that we have. So this is how you do the tanuki. This is done on a small scale. And as I showed you with the yew, you can also do it with that. Now this is a beautiful piece of driftwood, and one really has to clean this driftwood off. I don't think you need all those long shoots. We can just probably break it. Well, wearing my rubber gloves is not that easy. Look at the needles of the old dead needle juniper. So I couldn't decide what we are going to do with this, but I think I can possibly use this blowers here. This is not a big blower. This is a Chinese juniper. Look at it, it's huge. I don't want to spoil that Chinese juniper in case I don't proceed with this project. But let's see what the possibilities are. Maybe just put it around the back of the tree. We don't always have to wrap it around the tree. Just put it around the back of the tree. Okay, so just to show you the entire process, let me just take all this old soil off. This is still the original Japanese soil. This tree was imported in the late 1990s. I always keep the dead wood because you never know when you need it. Do. You see, it's very gritty soil, mixture of all sorts of volcanic pumice, sand, to the stage where I've removed all the old soil off that dead rigida, and this is the front I want to use. As I said, this is probably not a wraparound. You look at it. I don't think, no way is it a wraparound. You see, all this is fused with the original wood. So this wasn't a wraparound, this is a genuine tree. Now what I want to do is just put this at the side without wrapping it round and round, but just lay it next to the trunk and get it to fit the trunk. If I can get it to fit the trunk, that would be nice. So you can sit in there. So let me see what I can do. I may have to tease some of the root ball. I don't like to tease too much in case I stress the tree. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of this piece. So it's just like doing a jigsaw puzzle. You're just going to get a good fit. A good fit like that. So if I want it to fit, I probably have to take some soil off from here. I don't want to cut off too many branches because I may need them all. This is one instance where if you cut off the wrong branch, you might live to regret it. So it's going in that direction. So this is where you see this has got a very snug fit there. Let me try and put a nail in there. Nail might work, although the nails are not long enough. No, let's do the cable tie trick. I've got to teach myself patience because I tend to work too fast. And when you work too fast, you can make mistakes. I wish I had 4 hands because the 2 hands can't do everything I want to. Okay, let's move this out. Oh, I lost that other end. Maybe the trunk is too thick. Now I have to pass it through here. It's all trial and error. Just to show that I'm not a magician, I'm very much human. And here's my Indian tool, my Indian gin pliers, chimta. Cable tie is not long enough. This thick branch is in the way, but I don't want to cut it off. If I cut it off, I will have wasted the branch. As I said, it's a jigsaw puzzle, so it will take time. Keep my fingers clear. Wrap it around this way. The object is to try and get it as flush as possible, to get the main trunk really flush to the dead wood. If it's not flush to the dead wood, then it won't look authentic. It can always be seen as a fake. Tanuki means fake. Okay, I can get it there. Okay, there's a point here that I can nail. I wish I had longer nails. These are like 1-inch nails. You can see how I'm nailing that in. I'm not a skilled carpenter, I'm only an agricultural carpenter. So this is what we do with brass nails. You see how I pin that trunk to that dead wood like that. I know there's a bit of a gap, but so what? I can deal with that, I can live with that. I think I will sacrifice this tree and make a wraparound. I wasn't going to. So can you see how it's wrapped around there? So I can put another nail over there. So let's do some more carpentry with nails. Of course, if the trunk is too thin, then you won't be able to put a nail through, and then you can only use the cable ties. But I still prefer to use the nail. Put another nail there. Sometimes the nails don't hold properly. The wraparound is usually best with conifers. Unfortunately, people who live in countries where you don't get a lot of conifers, like ficuses, a ficus is not really a suitable species to do a wraparound. Okay, so I've wrapped it around there. Now let's see if I can wrap it some more over here. So these junipers that have these long shoots, they are quite pliable and they're not very brittle. So that's why they are ideal for this sort of work. So I can wrap it around that very tight bend as well. There, I've got right up to here. I think I will just use the cable tie in this position. Oops. This is where I wish I had several hands. Okay, got that tied. Got that off. Got this off. So you can see I've tied the juniper. Can you see how I've wrapped it around there? I will now tidy the tree up a little bit. Although the object is not to show the finished product at this stage because it's got a long way to go. At least I can show you what it is beginning to look like. Let's stand it in a temporary bonsai pot. his trailing pot.
That one's tiny bit of here. If you need it. Just tying this piece. This is such a strong tree. I think I will keep some of these shoots as sacrificials because while they're kept there, they will help to thicken the trunk much faster. Just sort some of these branches out just to give you some ideas to what it will look like. Okay, it's time I put it in a temporary bonsai pot, otherwise it'll be flopping around too much. Just give me a second. 2 wires through that pot because I really need to tie it well for the roots to establish. I'm not using bonsai compost. This is our base compost, which is bark. Just bark and the equivalent of moss peat. That in. The main thing now is to make the tree stable so that it doesn't fall out or rock around. Once the roots have got established over a period of time, I would say in 1 year it should fill the pot, and then we can decide how to take it further. Someone could just hold the top for me.
the gin pliers, or the equivalent of, this is the Indian frying pan holder, but makes a beautiful gin pliers. See if that's quite stable at the moment. And I will now just fill the rest of the pot up with soil. I think if you just compress the soil, it makes the tree stable and there's no danger of it falling out. So you can see the direction of the branches. This is going to continue as the leading shoot. I can keep wrapping it round and round. This one, if I just give it a little bit of wire. Right, I'm not pretending that it's a complete one, but this is how the start of the tanuki is made. So if you home in, you can see that the wood is nailed in to most of the wood. There is a gap there, but no matter, I'm not too worried about that, because when this trunk swells up, it'll butt up against the trunk. I'm going to encourage these low branches to grow as sacrificial so that it swells the base of the trunk. And there you are, using that driftwood. Without refining the driftwood, you can see the future shape of the tree. And we've got the makings of a nice bonsai. I'm not going to trim these, I'm just going to let them grow strong and thick so that it thickens the wood fast. So I'm not pretending to make it a complete bonsai at this stage. I'm just going to grow the tree strong. So I hope this has given you a glimpse of what tanuki is all about. Using juniper, I did show using a yew, and because many of you have asked over the last year or 18 months, please make a tanuki, so I finally got around to showing you the rudimentary aspects of doing tanuki. And of course, in the space of about an hour or half an hour, you cannot get perfection, but
here the object is really to show you the principles of what can be achieved, and they already look very credible. So the secret is to find good driftwood and good material. There you go.